Native American is also called as American Indian, Amerindian, Amerind, Indian, Aboriginal American, or First Nation person. The Native American lived in the United States long before the arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492 and the Europeans. Native Americans have been living on the American continent since about 12,000 BC. They were not a single nation, but a rich variety of cultures, people, and languages. However, in the 16th century, as the European conquest of the American began, Native American people resided throughout the Western Hemisphere. The people decimated by the effects of epidemic disease, military conquest, and enslavement. The people found their voice within the culture of America, but later in the 1960s, the writing began to express humiliation felt by the Native American people over their less than human treatment by the dominant society through writing. Native American literature, written in the 18th and 19th century, is considered as a literature transition between the oral tradition, which flourished before the Europeans arrived on the continent, and the beginning of the 1960s when the Native American Renaissance began. The novel Pushing the Bear After the Trail of Tears by Diane Glancy, written in 1996, is a creative historical narrative about the Cherokee removal and their survival. The author began her narrative with the Cherokees' arrival at Fort Gibson in Indian Territory. The resettlement in Indian Territory for the Cherokees were the aim of the United States of America's government for the ethnic cleansing of the Southeast. Much of physical violence have caused the passing of many Cherokees, with some inducing psychological and spiritual trauma. Cherokee Indians were asked to adopt Christianity by force, and their cultural ways were intimidated in response to colonial control. The sad truth unfolds the trauma of the Cherokee Indians of being forcibly uprooted, stripped of their Cherokee identity and dignity. Diane Glancy often creates work that reflects her Native American heritage. In her early life, Glancy chose to redefine her identity as a Cherokee Native American and began to use poetry as a means of locating her own native voice. The novel Sundown by John Joseph Matthews, 1934, revolves around the disintegration of Charles Windsor's character. Charles, being a mixed-blood Osage Indian torn by conflicts within Osage tribal values and confused by both the aggressiveness and the vices of the many white Americans he encounters. The author recorded the declining faith and growing insecurities of the main character throughout life when, in the end, the main character finds balance between contemplation and action. This novel holds an intimacy with the author, John Joseph Matthews, as he once served in the Osage Tribal Council, having experienced the moments he went on to write a novel based on it. Wainama, A Child of the Forest, written by an American Indian woman, had been inspired to write a novel due to the death of her grandfather during the Trail of Tears in 1830. Trail of Tears is a forced relocation of Eastern Woodlands Indians, which is located at the southeast region of United States, to the Indian Territory. There were almost 100,000 indigenous people that had been forced to move from their home, and there were 15,000 who died during the journey. One of them is the author's grandfather. The novel had criticized the U.S. Indian policies, and the massacre at Wounded Knee Creek, an actual event, occurred during 1891. The novel has been known as a reform literature where it inspires changes and speaks for the powerless, which includes the Native Americans who were continually defrauded and decimated by the U.S. government.